Thank you for attending our ClinEdge webinar series. My name is Simone, and I'll be your moderator today. ClinEdge hosts webinars each month, partnering with experts in the industry. The ClinEdge webinar series covers various topics on clinical research, including but not limited to operations and optimization, patient recruitment and retention, financial services, technology, and more. We invite and encourage experts from sponsors, CROs, site vendors, and health professionals to present in our webinar series to help promote learning, idea exchange, and progress. Our mission is to spread inspiration for clinical professionals by clinical professionals. We really would like to hear from you and would like to include your voice in the conversation. So ask questions, share comments, even challenge our ideas. Use the question and answer panel on the right side of your GoToWebinar sidebar to share at any time during the webinar. We will also have a few questions. Those will pop up right on your screen, but more about those later. I'd like to introduce today's presenter, Tyler Colegrove. Tyler is the Associate Director of Business Development and Finance. He works with sites to develop customized approaches aiming to optimize their financial potential. Tyler enjoys seeing the success sites are able to experience as a result of his knowledge in pairing sites with services that are most beneficial in for their individual business's needs. Once again, if you have any questions during the presentation, please submit your questions at any time in the box on the right side panel of your screen. There will be about 10 to 15 minutes at the end for a question and answer session. I will be asking questions out loud at that time. Any questions unaddressed may be answered in a follow-up blog post. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Tyler to begin.
Thank you, Simone. Good afternoon, everybody. As Simone said, the topic that I'll be touching on today is why sites do and should consider joining a site network. As Simone touched upon, I am the Associate Director of Business Development and Finance here at both ClinEdge and BTC Networks. So again, thank you guys for taking some time out of your day. All right. Alrighty, sorry for that bit of delay there. But to just give everybody a little bit of background information surrounding the companies, as well as kind of my role here and what I do. So to start off, ClinEdge and BTC Network are two sister companies, basically offering a full range of both business and marketing services to clinical research sites. So to get into a little bit more detail as to what those services are, obviously business and marketing tend to go hand in hand. The kind of the backbone to which the companies were built upon is study lead generation. So identifying new study opportunities for clinical research sites and getting them in touch with the right people at the sponsor and CRO level. In addition to that, we have a financial management aspect. So what we can do there is offer services where you can as a clinical research site, you can outsource everything that's related to the financial aspect of clinical research. So that means, first and foremost, outsourcing the contract and budget negotiations. Obviously, we all know that can go anytime from a day or two back and forth with the sponsor to a month or two. It all depends. So alleviating the stress of that is a huge benefit. In addition to that, on the financial side is handling the receivables. That's obviously a very, very intricate part of the clinical research process and the everyday tasks that sites have to complete in terms of funneling the money where it's supposed to go. In addition to these two services, we do also offer a full service patient recruitment and marketing division. So we can run individual ad campaigns for a given study for you, and we can also offer monthly marketing services where we can really push your name and your brand out there into the community to really build out that reputation, not only with the community, but also with the sponsors and CROs in the industry. And really at that point, tailor it to the type of sponsors and CROs you're most interested in based on your therapeutic areas of interest. Finally, we do also have a team dedicated to website design and development. This is something that's often overlooked by sites as they're so in the trenches and conducting good clinical research that a lot of them forget the value that comes with having a great website. Not only is this key and appealing to the patient population that you're trying to reach and looking like a reputable site, but it's also key in appealing to the sponsors and CROs. Whether or not you believe it, they are checking in on the sites and what sort of image they put out there in the community, because at the end of the day, it's a reflection of their work as well. So again, to touch upon what my role is here at ClinEdge and BTC, essentially the best way to put it in my words is I'm here to provide guidance to you as a site or a health system, with the ultimate goal being to optimize your financial performance. So through the array of services that we have to offer, I look to synchronize what works best and what doesn't, and really optimize your site's individual potential. So here what you'll see is a poll. What this will allow me to do is get a better understanding of the audience that I'm speaking to. As you can see below, I'm just simply asking for you to indicate which of the following best describes you. So first off is that private practice clinical research site, the integrated model there. In addition to that is just the dedicated clinical research site. So looking into exactly research and research only, so you don't necessarily have a practice integrated with the research. In addition to that is the SMO model, or the site management model. From there, we've got your health systems or your academic research centers. And then following that, I mean, if you don't feel that you've fallen to any of the above, feel free to click other. From my understanding, at this point, I'm not quite sure what you're doing here. Just kidding. But more importantly, you're probably here to get away from the everyday tasks at your site. Listen to this, me being this guy with this kind of awkwardly nasally deep voice. Other than that, thank you for indicating which sector you fall into here. And just so that you know, in another 10 seconds or so, we are going to close it. So if you could just speed up and click whatever it may be that's most appropriate for you, that'd be great. All right, and just as I had mentioned, we're now going to go ahead and close out the poll here. All right, so now I'm just looking at the results. It seems like it's a pretty even array. Most of you guys seem to either be part of a private practice and clinical research site. That comes in at about 30%. The other main player here is the other category, in which I'm hoping you guys can learn something, take something away from the presentation at hand. And then it's a pretty even split amongst the other three categories, just over 10%. So I'll be sure to go into an array of different explanations and informational pieces pertaining to each of these. Again, thank you for filling that out. All right, so to just dive right into it. Why would a site consider joining a site network? So everybody obviously has an array of different answers for this. Probably the most common that I experience is somebody coming to me and saying, hey Tyler, we've heard through a colleague that ClinEdge does a great job at getting new study opportunities to their site. That's one of the biggest pieces. So somebody just looking to find more studies. As you know, there's slow times in the industry. Summer tends to be slow months. So do the holidays in terms of the November, December, January timeframes. That's natural. I can tell you this past year, for whatever reason, that wasn't the case. It was actually more activity than we've seen probably in the past 3 to 4 years at those particular times of years, with sponsors really gearing up and ready to go and jumping into the studies at hand. In addition to this is just simply looking to grow your business. So looking to bring on more trials based on the number of PIs, based on the number of locations they have. Really looking to ramp up the capacity at which you're able to take on studies. And then is kind of the seesaw here, the growing too fast or not enough time. And this goes hand in hand with the next point, not having enough staff. Basically what this situation represents is a site that decided to jump into research, may have never conducted research before, and was extremely successful based on whether it's the reputation the PI has, the location, the access to the patient population, whatever reason it may be, but you're growing at a rate at which you no longer have time to utilize the business development efforts or to handle the finances at your site, the ad campaigns, and you want to make sure that you continue to conduct quality clinical research so that you maintain this good reputation in the industry. Following that is simply PIs looking to expand build out their CVs. Many times you have family practice doctors that have done a number of diabetes trials, hypertension trials, but now they might be looking to really dive into research a bit more. A good example of this is the ever popular and competitive obesity trials. Obviously, the majority of family practice doctors see those patients on a day-to-day basis, so why not get involved in research and really make a difference there and lend a hand to the advancement of medicine? So that's another good reason. Following that, you've got the PIs who I touched on before who have never conducted research, who heard through a friend that research is profitable, which it is. And in addition to that, like I said, you're advancing medicine. So when you've got those two pieces on your side weighing you down, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer if you enjoy what you're doing and you have the time to do it and do it well. So the other piece is those experience sites where we run into it all the time. You've got, like I said, that family medicine doctor, your dedicated research, you do very well for yourself, but now you want to break out into dermatology or ophthalmology, whatever it may be, and you bring on a new PI to do that. What we can do is assist you in what a good network can do is assist you in breaking into those new therapeutic areas. When sponsors say you worked with J&J for the past 10 years and they know you as one of the best hypertension sites around, but an acne trial comes across their plate, they're not even thinking about you at this point. What we can do there is really bridge the gap and ensure that they're fully aware of your capabilities and get that PI introduced to these new trial opportunities, and more so really build out the brand that you have there and, again, your reputation. Then is the ever popular expanding into multiple locations. Especially if you're dedicated research and looking to add to the revenue streams, the end of the year profit margins, expanding into multiple locations allows you to clone study opportunities. So for that healthy volunteer vaccine study, a flu study, where revenue is upwards of $1 million, why not open another 2 locations if you have the capacity within an hour's drive of each other and triple that revenue? That's another great reason that sites do come to us seeking help in how to do that and how to do it properly, because nobody wants to open an additional location that ends up failing. You want to make sure that you're doing it the right way, in ways in which that are going to allow you to succeed at the end of the day. Following that is just plain and simple reputation. It really is everything in the industry. I can't harp that enough. Once a sponsor works with you, if you do great, they have no reason not to come back to you. If they've never worked with you, they may not have a reason to come to you. So that's something that a network can do, is utilize their relationship with the sponsor and CROs and initiate that relationship between you as a site and the sponsor and or CRO. So again, bridging the gap. That's really kind of the moral to this presentation. And then is just simply the admin work that goes into clinical research. And this is especially true for those family practice or practice clinical research sites where you're not dedicated research, you've got your everyday tasks, you don't have the time to handle all of the admin work that goes with it, the financials, the enrollment, the screening of patients. And again, this is something that you can outsource to a variety of different networks and other companies for that matter within the industry. So there's always resources out there. It's just being able to know where to look and to be able to identify what's going to most benefit your particular situation. So I know I touched upon some reasons why why a site would consider joining a network. And here is just kind of a bulleted overview as to what you can expect in terms of the structure of the presentation. First off, we're just going to go into the different structures of clinical research sites. Obviously, it varies very significantly. From there, we can jump into the function of a site network. What value are they bringing to you as a site? Again, from there, what type of network would you be looking to join? What characteristics or traits should you be looking for? And at the end of the day, what are the reasons to join? How is it going to benefit you? And then finally, really coming full circle there and finding what's right for your site. Finding the right network for you, finding other providers in terms of individual capacities and in ways that other companies can help out your site, really identifying based on the situation that you're in, what the best avenue will be for you to lead you to success. And at the end of the day, profitability. So, structure of a site network. So there's several different setups that arise within what some would refer to as a quote-unquote network. There's all different models. People refer to themselves in different ways, but you've got your independently owned, and I'm going to go into each of these in a bit more detail. You've got your integrated. So this really is the quintessential hybrid model, meaning that it can be any combination of any services. There's no set in stone description here. It's really what the owner decides to do there. Following that is the ever popular study broker. For some reason, brokers tend to sometimes carry a negative connotation with the business that they're in, but it's really not, and it really is something great for the right clientele, which again I'll get into a bit further down. And then is the wholly owned, so really those brick and mortar locations. Those are the sites that are the site networks that own every site within. And again, in each of these, I'll get into some examples of what types of companies that you may be familiar with fall into which categories. All right, so first is the independently owned sites. So to jump into some characteristics. Fees. It's going to be one of the ever popular trends, talking about each one of these individual setups. So fees generally for an independently owned network are some sort of recurring rate. Generally, you find these on a monthly, quarterly, sometimes annual basis. But so it's a recurring rate for the services that the network provides. Again, those can range everywhere or anywhere from bringing you study leads to marketing your site. It's a vast array of different services that could be offered, but at the end of the day, the site is paying this fee for this service, but they the owner is still the owner of that individual site. The network itself has absolutely no ownership of it whatsoever. And to kind of further describe it, so it's really a personalized model based on your site's needs. So what you're looking for there is a network that almost becomes part of your team, but doesn't reside under your roof. So it's somebody that you can call for any bit of help that you need, for any clearing up of content, whatever you may need. This is somebody that you should be able to reach out to. And really, really importantly is the transparency. What an independently owned site network should communicate is full transparency amongst all studies that they're introducing you to. Because at the end of the day, when you're paying that recurring monthly or quarterly rate, whatever it may be, in order for the network to be successful, you as a site has to be successful. So they have to deliver upon the expectations that were set forth in whatever agreement you settled on. And again, that goes back to the transparency piece. So if you're thinking that 2017, by December 31st, when we close our doors for the holidays, that you should have been awarded 6 studies throughout the year, and that's what the network had said, that should have been communicated all along throughout the year. It shouldn't be touched upon on December 31st. If you're looking for 6 studies, obviously you're looking for anywhere between 1 and 2 studies each quarter. So you should be communicating with that network, and they should be communicating with you to ensure that you're meeting the expectations set forth. And then really an important piece that will distinguish an independently owned research network from one that's not is, in an independently owned research network, you're always going to be contracting directly with the sponsor or CRO. Never does the network have a hand in taking any bit of the contract. The study you were awarded is the study you're going to be paid for. The only fees associated with the network are those recurring rates, the monthly, the quarterly. So some examples down here that you can see are Hunt Services and ClinEdge Network. Both very similar services, both very good services, and they both operate on these flat monthly rates and ensuring their clients and continuing to ensure their clients that they're going to provide return on investment, because at the end of the day, if they don't, then you as the client have no reason to continue working with them. So it's just as simple as that. Next is the integrated model. So this is one that drastically ranges. This could mean that there's part ownership. This could mean that there's no ownership. So there's a variety of different structures, but really what describes this is a network integrating itself into the functions of the site. That could mean everywhere from the business development, the finances, the marketing, the quality assurance, really any aspect of the business, and integrating in some form or multiple forms. From there is it's a centralized communication process. So again, there's those points of contact that are consistent and are continuously bringing you the information that you need. And to just dive into that a bit deeper, so central organization can support a variety of different pieces. It could be solely staffing your site. You need 3 coordinators. That's what this integrated network offers. It could be all of the above. All the site wants to do is focus on a popular model here would be a PI who just wants to focus on the research. Doesn't care about any other piece of it, wants to ensure that they're doing good quality clinical research, and really what every site should be set forth to do who's in the industry. So in that case, those sites are a lot of times outsourcing everything. They want the network to go get them those new study opportunities. They want them to negotiate the budgets and handle all of the receivables. They want them to staff the coordinators to ensure that all QA is in line with what it should be. So that's a nice piece, and that a lot of networks do offer these kind of a la carte services, I guess is really the best way that you could put it there. So to jump into examples of what could be characterized as an integrated network, you'll see at the bottom here. You've got the very well-known PMG research. You've got Synexus, BTC Network, QCare. So each of these is a bit different in their own way, but at the end of the day, excuse me, they are all in some way, shape, or form an integrated network offering a variety of services and really getting in there in the trenches with the sites and helping them execute different functions of their business. From there is the study broker. So for this, it's simple. You pay for performance. Generally, in these models, there's no upfront cost. There's no set fees. So essentially, and I touched on this in the beginning, sometimes it carries a negative connotation and a site not feeling that they're cared for as much as they may be in another network, or the communication isn't as personalized as it should be. But at the end of the day, this model is extremely good for new sites looking to break into research, especially sites that aren't looking to put upfront capital into paying for business development services that, for all they know, may not pan out. And that could be for a variety of reasons. It could be on the site's end and the PSVs not going as well as they could. It could be on the network's end in not delivering upon what they're looking for based on their therapeutic areas of interest. From a study broker, what you get is what you see. They're going to send you study opportunities, and there's going to be ample opportunity. It's up to you to execute feasibilities to the best of your ability and get on those studies. But the beauty in it is you don't pay anything until you're on that study and awarded that study and contracted on that study. So there's no upfront cost, no money out of your pocket. So again, this I would always strongly urge new sites breaking into research to consider, because it is an avenue that proves to be very fruitful for those sites. It also proves to be fruitful for the experienced sites as well, who are really focused on whatever it is they may be doing, especially if they're a practice with a research division. They're focused on their practice, but they still want to see a steady stream of study opportunities. And if they know there's one that they can pounce on and execute, why not jump on that and increase their revenue for the year there? And in addition to that, they're not paying those annual fees that other sites are paying to be part of a network, or those monthly fees. They're just waiting for the opportunity that they want to capitalize on it and to pay the broker at that point, which is all good and well for both parties. So some examples of this that are very popular in the industry: Investigator Location Services and Pharmacy, two very well-known names, two very well-run companies, both providing a lot for their customer base. So to follow up from there, kind of the functions of a site network and really the driving force as to what a site network, in my opinion and in our opinion, should be looking to bring. So first, and probably the most popular as to why a site might consider, is quantity. There's hundreds, if not thousands, of sponsors and biotechs out there in the industry. A single site just simply can't keep up with the volume of staying in touch with those people in the industry as a whole. It just isn't possible. So by using a network, what you're able to do is work with teams that have people dedicated to building out those relationships and bringing you those study opportunities. So what the good site network should be doing is looking to identify, hey, what's the volume that you're looking to conduct at any given time, and ensuring that pipeline's built out for you, not today, but built out for you 6 months from now, 9 months from now, has you in line with those studies that are set to begin Q2 of next year. From there is quality. So what this really boils down to are the budgets involved in the studies that they're putting forth. Obviously, studies such as an observational study are great ways for new PIs to break into research, but somebody who's done 70 Alzheimer's studies doesn't want to go do an observational Alzheimer's study. What they want to do are those big phase 3 studies that are looking for quality PIs with access to patient populations that ultimately pay a high per patient budget. So a good network there should be seeking those opportunities for your site if you're that PI who has that experience. And even if you're not, they should be looking to continuously break you into potential opportunities where you're able to see significant budgets. And finally, there's personalization. And this simply, as I put it, it's optimizing your site's capacity. So if you have 3 coordinators, that doesn't mean that you want to be running 3 studies. That means you should probably be running anywhere from, let's be serious, 9 to potentially 15 studies, depending on each coordinator's workload. So the network should fully understand what your capacity is, what your goals are, and do everything within their power to help you reach that. And as I said before, optimize what you're able to do. So those, I would say, quantity, quality, personalization are 3 key aspects to solidifying a good pipeline for any site. And again, not just today, but 6 months from now. You want to have everything lined up. You don't ever want to fall into a situation where you aren't enrolling. And by working with a good network, you navigate that issue. So, reasons to join. So I touched on this a little bit before, but one employee just simply can't handle the volume involved in reaching out to all of these sponsors and CROs in the industry. I mean, I can give you an example. The ClinEdge and BTC networks alone are reaching out to almost 4,000 sponsors and CROs. No matter who you are as a site, it's just too much. Without having double-digit employees working in business development, it's not going to be possible. So then what you've got to do is take a few steps back and look at the cost of employing a business development person at your site. I mean, this can range anywhere from $40,000 to $100,000 on an annual basis. So do you want to pay that rate for a single person who, even if they have the best relationships in the world, maybe might be able to touch base with 200 companies and keep a good reputation with 200 companies each year? That's what you've got to figure out. And the answer may be yes. If you're a single PI looking to run 2 or 3 studies each year and that's it, yeah, that may be just fine for you. But it is still a steep cost to employ a single business development person for a site and bringing them those new opportunities. So that's something that I would always urge people to weigh is what's the cost of this network that I'm pursuing to join versus the cost to employ somebody at my site. I know networks a lot of times do have a sticker shock, and people are like, I can't believe you're asking me to pay this just for study leads. Again, it just goes back to the cost of people versus a team and outsourcing to a network. Following that is the ever popular turnover in the industry. Unfortunately, it does happen, and it happens quite often. So if you want to employ somebody on that lower end of the business development spectrum in terms of the annual salary, yeah, you can definitely find somebody who's hungry, who's ready to go out there, identify what it is you're looking for, bust their rear end and getting in touch with those companies. But what happens when you spend 6 months training them? They do great for you for 6 months, and then they say, oh, time to go. Now I'm going to go work for a bigger fish in the industry where I have the opportunity to make more money. It's just the nature of the beast. That's what happens. And again, there are cases that, yes, it's a family-run business. People stick with each other. That's great. But for the vast majority of people or of sites out there, it takes a lot of time to train a good BD person, and a lot of it you can't train. It's just inherent in the person that they are. Excuse me. So then from there is the prospecting of pharmaceutical companies and the turnover involved on their end. So I know I'm talking about turnover in sites and BD people moving on, but a lot of times what they do is move on to those CROs, those sponsors. So even from there, those same personalities go to the sponsor and CRO side, And the same thing's going to happen. They're going to be working as project managers, as business development people, as some sort of liaison between sites and their companies. And ultimately, what's their goal at the end of the day? It's to progress. That's just everybody's natural professional goal. So in that capacity, it's again nearly impossible for a site to stay on top of all of the turnover. What a network should be able to do is when there's turnover, they should have those relationships built out to the point where if John's leaving and Sue's taking his position, John's going to introduce you to Sue at the network level. That's what a good network is able to do. And again, it's, as I said a million times already, it's bridge that gap. Avoid the issues with turnover, ensure smooth transitions, because nothing's worse than a site completing a CDA, then completing a feasibility, and then because the project manager switched companies, the new project manager is scrambling to identify new sites and you got dropped off. It's just not a situation that anybody wants to be in. So a good network should be able to bridge that. So then just some reasons to join, something that you should look at. So first is the reputation. In joining a good site network and being part of a good site network, whether it's wholly owned, whether it's independently owned, whether it's integrated, you should be looking to increase your sites or better your site's reputation in the industry. And likewise, the network should be looking at sites and looking to bring on only those sites who are going to, again, make them look better them in the industry. From there is, like we just talked about on several sides, it's the decreased workload. It allows you to focus on research. Conduct the research at hand. Don't worry about anything else. See the revenue come in. Trust the network that you're working with or whatever the service provider is, and that they're working to help you. Any of these relationships should be looking to foster over time and grow. But very importantly is the access to those competitive trials. Like I said earlier, the family medicine doc who does hypertension but wants to get into obesity but just can't find a way in. Well, what a good network should be able to do is know where those opportunities are and make that direct introduction between you as a site, whether it's the owner, the PI, and that project manager, or if it's a small sponsor out there, maybe that CEO, just make the introduction and start the conversation that hopefully eventually comes to fruition in the point of you being awarded the trial. And then as we touched on before is just a simple study pipeline expansion. If you're not growing, you're shrinking, so you want to continuously have studies in your pipeline, know what the timelines look like. I know there's constantly delays in the industry. It's just a matter of fact piece, but you should always have a glimpse into what the future looks like and what's on the horizon. Excuse me. Finding the right network for you. So there's a variety of different aspects that come into what you should be looking for. The first, and it sounds minute, but it's morals and goals. When you're talking to the site representative or the network representative, what do you feel are their overall morals? What do you feel are their goals? What are they striving to accomplish? And that's not just for the company, but on a personal level, because at the end of the day, a good company is going to employ good people. So it's something that you should be looking for. I would say it should never be, if you're ever speaking to a network who jumps on the phone with you, jumps on a Skype call with you, talks to you in person, says, hey, yeah, this is the price. Before they learn anything about you, they're there to just capture volume, and it's not going to be volume that's retained. So you should be looking for a site that's looking to retain you as part of the network for an extensive period of time. Following that is exclusivity. What are you looking for? Some networks have binding pieces within the contracts and language that only allows you to work with them, which maybe that's what you're looking for, which is fine. Then there's other networks that don't have any sort of exclusivity piece. So you can work with everybody and anybody under the sun. So it's really what you're looking to get out of it and what you're looking for. There may be benefits to just working with somebody, but or a single person or single company, but there's also benefits to having the ability to employ any service that you're looking for. Obviously, there's always innovations in the industry, different companies popping up with different abilities. So some sites want to be able to utilize whatever comes out next, which is fully understandable. Following that is, one of the questions you always want to ask is, hey, if I'm going to come on board as a site in your network, am I going to be competing with a similar doctor within my vicinity or geographic area? That's something that is a crucial question, because if they don't have an answer to you there, or if they can't give you an answer, more importantly, then the answer is probably yes, there is geographic competition. And in terms of that translating to the sponsor CRO end, if a network's continuously delivering sites that are competing with one another, eventually it's going to get old for the project management team over there. What they'd be looking for is the delivery of sites that they know are spread throughout whatever geographic area it is that they're looking to identify sites. And even within those geographic areas, making sure that they're not competing for the same patient population. Obviously, this is going to range when you're looking at a site in central Ohio versus New York City. You can be much closer in New York City than you can be in Ohio, all while not competing for the same patient population. And moving further into the right network for you. So client retention. This is something that I'd always urge sites to ask when you're prospecting, talking to different networks, service providers, whatever it may be. Hey, what are the terms of your contract? And what is your retention rate over the past, however many years you want to ask, or months? How many clients who come on for 1 year come on for the next year? So you're going to want some information there, because that'll tell you whether or not they're providing what they say they're providing. And then is the return business from the sponsor and CRO end. Are they able to display that they've been working with J&J, with Takeda, with Janssen, or Daiichi Sankyo, whoever it may be? Are they coming back to them year over year for study after study? Do they have a good reputation there? So both of these are questions that you're going to want to ask. And what I would say here, honestly, is reach out in the industry. If you know somebody at a sponsor or CRO, ask them, hey, have you ever worked with X network? Which most PIs, if you have other PIs in the industry that you're friendly with that also conduct research, hey, have you ever heard of these guys? Do you know anybody who knows them? If you do, can I speak with them to understand what sort of services they're providing? And this goes hand in hand to the next point, transparency. What I would always urge you to do in prospecting is gain as much insight from the network or service provider that you possibly can. And then go out and cross-reference that with what you're able to gain from the colleagues that you know in the industry. A good place for this is conferences. They happen throughout the entire year, throughout all different locations. It's a great time to be able to start up a conversation with the sponsor or CRO. Hey, I know you're running X study. Another network that I've been speaking with has said that they work within this therapeutic area. Have you ever worked with them? Have they ever provided you sites? What was your experience? And likewise, again, with sites, being able to rub elbows with people who have similar setups as you. And then from there is just, is there sustainable growth within that network? There's nothing less appealing to a sponsor than a network providing a site this month and then saying, oh no, they're not with us 2 months from then, and then 6 months later submitting that same site again. So there shouldn't be that yo-yo effect in any way. What you should be looking for is a network that's growing over a period of time, and has goals for the year, has endpoints that they're trying to meet and trying to maintain, all while maintaining the reputation in the industry. And one of the easiest ways to check into this is really just a simple Google search, looking in if there is sustainable growth, if they are continuing to push on in the industry, make a name for themselves. a simple Google search should represent that. And obviously, look into whatever's out there on the network or service provider. Gain as much information as you can. All right, from there is really finding what might be the right network for you. So there's a number of pieces that go into this. Again, with the transparency piece, expectations. Expectations should be put forth right off the bat, and they should be touched upon, in my opinion, at least a quarterly basis. If not, even more commonly than that, maybe on a monthly basis. But what are the communication expectations? And this doesn't just mean how often are you as a site going to communicate to them. It's how often is the network going to reach out to you if they send you a study that they know you want, but you haven't filled out the feasibility and they know it's due tomorrow? Are they going to be knocking at your door? A good network is going to be doing this, and a good site is going to want this. From there is turnaround. What are turnaround times looking like in terms of startup to being awarded a study? What are expectations in turning around study documents like that feasibility? From there is the volume. How, similar to what I touched on in the beginning, how many studies can they bring you realistically, and not just across every therapeutic area, but specifically to what you're looking at? And then that translates to the award ratio. Obviously, somebody can send you 100 studies a month, but how many studies are you going to get awarded? So those are some of the really important pieces to it. And then the financials. What makes sense for you? So as I said, those independently owned networks, a lot of times it's a recurring rate. Those integrated networks, it can be a variety of different situations. There can be partial ownership, there can be flat rates, there can be percentages, and then with the wholly owned, the wholly owned network is deciding which studies you're doing. So they have complete control. And you as the PI, as a coordinator, as the staff, are being paid as an employee of the network. So what sort of fees make sense for you? Again, I touched on the broker model, but are you a new site? Are you looking to break into research? Do you not have the capital yet? Again, the broker model might be perfect for you at that time. From there is therapeutic alignment. Like I said, you don't just want volume. You want volume that's honed into exactly what you're looking for. So ensuring that, yeah, a network may say, we can bring you 20 new studies every week, but as a dermatologist, a COPD study is not going to make sense. So there you're already at 19 studies. So what are they going to bring you that you're interested in? And what are those numbers realistically going to look like? So yeah, that's kind of summing up what I believe you should be looking for as a site, prospecting site networks, other service providers. But at this point, what I'd like to do is just touch upon some questions that any of you might have.
Okay, thank you, Tyler, for your very informative presentation today. We'll now have time for some questions. Please submit your questions in the box on the right to be read out loud and answered by our speakers. We'll give you just about 20 seconds or so to get a few in. Looks like Tyler did a good job covering all aspects of why or why not join a network. Okay, so first question, what is the network owned by physicians? What is the advantage?
So what is the network, or what are the advantages of a physician owning a network? I would say there it's simply that you determine what you want to do. As I mentioned, the wholly owned networks don't necessarily have any jurisdiction over what studies they're going to run. The network determines which studies are going to go to them, and those are the studies that they're going to conduct. A network owned by a physician, a lot of times what benefits them are two things. The revenue is coming directly to you. You're negotiating directly with the sponsor, so there's no middleman taking a cut of it. And in addition to that, if you're a practicing physician, you've got most times a database that you can pull on right then and there for the given study. So there's countless benefits to owning your own clinical research site, specifically within a practice of some sort.
Okay, if anyone else has any questions, you can go ahead and submit them in the question box. If you have any. Okay, doesn't look like we have any. So we're going to do something a little bit different today. We typically get follow-up questions regarding either our services or the presentation. So we're actually going to open up a few extra polls just to kind of gauge if anyone does have any questions or would like to be followed up regarding anything we talked about today or anything else ClinEdge is capable of. So the first question we have is, if you'd like to learn more about the site network, Tyler can talk a little bit about our network.
So just to give you kind of a brief understanding of ClinEdge and BTC networks. As I touched on in the beginning, they're two completely separate business entities, sister companies to one another, very similar in function. Each has a variety of different services, but ultimately what our goal is for sites is to grow them from a standpoint of ensuring that, like I touched upon, they're always having studies that they're enrolling. There's never downtime. When a study closes out, another study's starting up, and really aligning that. So what we do is provide an account manager to work directly with you as the site and really hone in and, again, personalize what you're looking for, make that personal outreach to the sponsor and CRO on your behalf, and push you out there in front of the sponsor or CRO to break you into the studies that you really want to. It could be break you into those new indications, or again, if you're a research naive PI, one of the areas that we specialize in is breaking you into research. And it could be, the first study might be an observational study, might be a bit easier to do, but eventually what we're able to do and what we've been extremely successful in is getting sites awarded the studies they want, getting them awarded studies with good budgets, and providing continuous return on investment, all while simply requiring a flat monthly rate. So the rate doesn't increase based on the volume. The rate is simply representative of your site setup, how many therapeutic areas you're looking at, as well as how many locations. Like I said before, there are those instances where sites might have 4 or 5 locations throughout 2 or 3 states. Well, obviously the revenue stream we know is going to be significantly higher for you than a single location. So the fees that go with it are obviously going to be slightly higher than they would be with a single site location. But our end all goal is to ensure that you're seeing return on investment right off the bat, and you continue to see that throughout the entire relationship that ensues there. So in addition to just the study lead generation, one thing that I touched upon is that we offer a variety of different services to sites, the financial management service, the patient recruitment and marketing service, as well as the website design and development. So I'll kind of backtrack there. But first off, the website design and development. We're one of just a few countries actually in the world that develop websites that are completely dedicated to the clinical research industry. So we're not a design firm, we're not a marketing firm out there doing work for a variety of different companies across a variety of different industries. We work specifically within clinical research, and the reason that that's so beneficial is over the lifetime of what we've been doing, we've been able to see exactly what works, what doesn't work. and employ that in the websites that we're building out. And transitioning from there, the same goes with the marketing services. Based on your site, your therapeutic areas of interest. For instance, if you're a neurology site and you specifically focus on Alzheimer's, generally you're probably not going to get a lot of attention through social media there. There's going to be different avenues, or I should say you're not going to get a lot of attention directly through that patient population through social media. What we do is work to navigate. So at that point, we're looking for loved ones or family members of those who may be diagnosed with Alzheimer's or dementia. So we really hone in focusing on exactly what you're looking for and what we found to be successful. And the same transpires with individual ad campaigns for studies. It's extremely focused. And then finally is the financial management piece. So we're able to offer an array of different services there. So we can handle just your contract and budget negotiations. We can handle just your receivables, or we can handle both. And that's generally what we see move in most fluently and benefit the site most. One thing that we're extremely proud of is the fact that every site that's ever tried utilizing any of our financial management services has stayed with them. Nobody has ever left. We have absolutely zero turnover in terms of our financial management services. So again, that's something that we're very proud of. And yeah, it's a leap of faith to trust somebody with your finances, but in speaking with other sites and talking to people in the industry, I can assure you that you will reap the benefits there. We see significant markups on study budgets from what the average site is awarded. And generally, just to give you an idea, the markup there ranges anywhere from 30 to 40% on average. And there are those rare studies where we see upwards of almost 70%. So it's definitely worth something and exploring. And I'm always open to conversation on any of these topics.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. And that is all the time we have for today's webinar. Please look for our follow-up email that will alert you on the on-demand status of today's event so that you can review any material you missed or simply go over it again. Also, please take a moment to fill out our short exit survey. And on behalf of ClinEdge, we thank you for joining us and taking time to view our presentation. Have a great day.